For thousands of years, history has been driven by a compulsion to draw borders in the dirt and defend them with military force. Every landmass on Earth appears to be accounted for. From frozen tundras to deep rainforests, every square inch is claimed by a sovereign government. But a single coordinate in the Sahara Desert breaks this pattern. If you look at the boundary between Egypt and Sudan, you find Bir Tawil. This is an 800-square-mile expanse of sand and rock that belongs to absolutely no one. Under international law, this area is a land without a country. It is the only habitable place on the surface of the Earth that is actively rejected by every nation. Two heavily armed, powerful nations sit right next door, yet both governments look at 800 square miles of their continent and say, it's not ours. To understand why, we have to look at how these borders were first manufactured. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the British Empire held total administrative control over both Egypt and Sudan. When an empire controls half the globe, drawing borders is an exercise in administrative convenience rather than a reflection of the people who actually live on the land. In 1899, British officials placed a ruler on a map and drew a perfectly straight horizontal line across the 22nd parallel to separate the two territories. Under this specific piece of paper, Bir Tawil sat completely south of the line, making it part of Sudan. 3 years later, colonial administrators realized their straight line cut right through the traditional grazing lands of the local Ababda tribe. So in 1902, they drew a second map, creating a jagged border to account for local geography. This new zigzag pushed Bir Tawil north of the boundary, officially assigning it to Egypt. Eventually, the British left. Egypt and Sudan became fully independent nations, and they inherited two conflicting maps. Those overlapping documents created an inescapable geopolitical trap. The deadlock over Bir Tawil is driven entirely by the territory located right next to it, the Halaib Triangle. Halaib is massive. It sits directly on the Red Sea, offering fertile soil, rich marine resources, and millions of dollars in potential oil reserves. Bir Tawil is just dead rock. Egypt officially recognizes the original 1899 map. That flat, horizontal line legally places the wealthy Halaib Triangle inside Egyptian borders. But by validating that specific map, Egypt legally declares that Bir Tawil belongs to Sudan. Sudan takes the exact opposite approach. They recognize the 1902 map, because that jagged border grants them the Halaib Triangle. By legally committing to the 1902 map, Sudan automatically insists that Bir Tawil is Egyptian property. If either government sends a single soldier or plants a flag in Bir Tawil, they formally admit the other nation's map is correct. Claiming an 800-square-mile patch of worthless dirt means instantly forfeiting a multi-billion-dollar coastline. Because the actual governments refuse to touch it, this geographical void acts as a magnet for internet adventurers, dreamers, and eccentric billionaires. In 2014, an American farmer drove 14 hours into the desert just to plant a homemade blue flag in the sand, claiming the land so his 7-year-old daughter could technically call herself a princess. Over the past decade, Russian tech entrepreneurs and online activists have followed suit, traveling into the desert to announce new crypto-utopias and independent micronations. This chart outlines the requirements for legal statehood. To be a recognized country, you need a permanent population, a functioning government, and diplomatic recognition from other states. The people traveling to Bir Tawil check exactly 0 of these boxes. The land has no water, no infrastructure, and is entirely surrounded by hostile military zones. The moment these visitors snap a photo for the internet and drive away, their sovereign kingdoms vanish. Out here, far from the legal arguments and the viral internet stunts, the physical reality is just wind and rock. Bir Tawil exposes the artificial nature of our global map. The lines separating countries are drawn by political leverage and resource wealth, not by the land itself. As long as the waters of the Red Sea hold economic value, this stretch of the Sahara will sit completely abandoned. It remains a monument to the truth that nations only claim the earth when it pays to do so.